So hello, everyone. Welcome to the Krame Center for Mindful Living, and welcome to our info session about the 8-week Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction program. So we will spend about the next 30 minutes introducing ourselves, talking about the program, and also talking about the benefits. And then at the end, there will be time for some Q&A. So just a little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to type them in as we go, but know that we will answer them at the end. So maybe take a moment just to orient yourself with looking at the bottom of your screen, and you'll see where there's a little box that says Q&A. That's where you would type in your questions. So before we dive in, I'd like to invite you all to join us for a mindful moment so that you can see, get a little taste of what some of the practices are going to be like in the program. So just taking a moment to settle in, and if it's comfortable for you, closing the eyes, and if not, that's fine, and just gazing softly in front of you. And so now, if you are closing your eyes, you can do so now. And then just inviting a sense of arrival. So arriving in the space that you're in, arriving in the chair that you're sitting in, and arriving in your own body. So maybe feeling your feet on the floor, your sits bones on the chair, and perhaps your hands in your lap as a way of grounding into the body. And then perhaps, if it's possible, letting go of whatever came before, and also letting go of anything that's going to come later. So really just giving yourself permission to be here fully. And now, as you're ready, I'm going to invite you to turn your attention to the breath. So not needing to change it in any way, but simply following the rhythm of your own breath cycle. One breath in and one breath out. Another breath in and another breath out. And continuing at your own pace. And if the mind wanders off, that's fine. Just simply redirecting it back to the breath. So for the next few breaths, just paying attention to each in-breath and each out-breath. And now perhaps having a sense of gratitude towards yourself for showing up today, for taking the time to learn about this program and how it could benefit your own very important self-care. And now, after the next breath, just bringing your awareness back, maybe wiggling fingers and toes, and then allowing the eyes to gently open. So just take a moment to check in with yourself. And how was that for you? And how are you feeling in this moment? So just being aware. Okay, so we will begin by introducing ourselves and what MBSR means to us individually and as teachers. So I am Catherine Krame. I'm the co-founder of the Krame Center for Mindful Living, and I'm also a qualified MBSR teacher. So I will share with you that I find teaching the MBSR program to be very rewarding. I have found over the years that invariably the participants have kind of an epiphany of sorts. You know, it can be a very small shift in perspective, and I've also seen it be life-changing. And of course, everyone comes to it on their own or in their own time, but often it seems to happen around week 3. I'm not exactly sure, but people would report that it could be as sudden as this sense of the flip of a switch. And there would be this recognition that, wow, I have a choice in how I respond to my experience in this moment. And there was such a sense of freedom. People would say there was such a sense of freedom and power in feeling that there was a choice. So they could determine if the next moment was going to be one of ease or one of stress based on how they chose to respond to any given situation or challenge. So I just want to quickly share a story of one of my students, and this has stayed with me. I had a student a few years ago. He was a middle school teacher, and he came into class after work one day, and he shared that every morning he had a very long commute on Route 80, and there was always traffic. So he would be gripping the steering wheel, his shoulders would be hunched, and he'd be stressed that he was going to be late, and his heart would race, and he'd get to school, and he was certainly not in the frame of mind to enter the classroom in an open and present way. And he said that earlier that week, he just was driving to work, and suddenly he just released, he just let go, and really literally let go of his tight grip of the steering wheel, felt his shoulders relax, and kind of surrendered to, this is how it is. And for the first time, he was actually looking out the window and noticing the landscape. And he even noticed other commuters who were stuck in the same traffic. So there was even a sense of this, commonality, common humanity, camaraderie almost. He arrived at school that day in a very different frame of mind. He had time to go to the teacher's lounge and have his favorite cup of tea before going into the classroom. He entered the classroom and felt very calm and really looking forward to seeing his students. So I just wanted to share that with you because it felt very impactful to hear him talk about that shift. And I've had other stories like that, but I'm going to leave it at that. And then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ken Verney, who is one of our senior certified teachers. And so Ken, please.
Okay, thank you, Catherine, and good morning, everyone. Welcome, glad you're here. I've been practicing mindfulness, lucky enough to be practicing mindfulness since I was about 20 years old. So that's 30 plus years now, and been teaching for about 15. I'm also a clinical psychologist, and I'm not going to say a lot about what it's done for my life. It's tremendously helped and opened up my heart and my capacity to be in contact with the world in a sort of vibrant way. But as a teacher, the beauty of being a teacher in the class is to watch how this very simple invitation to cultivate awareness, to pay attention to the unfolding of one moment after the next, how that process kind of takes shape on its own, and each person in each 8-week cycle to to be able to watch how that just bears fruit for the individuals who make the choice to take the course and put the time in for the practice. It's really quite an honor, actually, and it's kind of one of the most favorite things I do, and I see it as predominantly trying to do whatever I can to inspire, to motivate, maybe a little bit of education around like what to expect and what helps and what might not help, and then the process just unfolds on its own, and I don't really have to. I don't get in the way. I don't have to be in the way, and I can just watch. And so that's really wonderful, and it makes each class fresh. And so that's what's really what I enjoy about teaching. So I'm going to leave it there. I'll give it over to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Ken. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Gobea, and I am the Vice President of the Krame Center for Mindful Living. I'm also a qualified MBSR instructor, and I thought it might be nice to share a little bit of a story from my perspective taking the MBSR course. In order to become a teacher, I first had to take the course myself, and that's what really inspired me to become a teacher. So while I was taking the MBSR course, I was living in Jersey City at the time, and I was making my way down the street, a walk that I must have taken 100 times before. And as I looked over to my right-hand side, I noticed a rose bush, and then another one, and then another one. And I began to notice just how many rose bushes there were in Jersey City. It was a beautiful sight and a beautiful thing to notice. And then I looked up to my right-hand side, just up above me, and noticed a street sign. And I noticed that the street sign was covered in all of these detailed and ornate stickers, something that I also had never noticed before. And then looking over to my left-hand side, there was a building on my left that, again, I had passed so many times before, but never really paid full attention to. And I began to notice the details of the building. And it was in that moment that I felt like I was really waking up to my life. Things were just so much more detailed, so much more vibrant, and it truly was such a profound experience for me. And because of that, I wanted to share that with you all this morning. So now I'd like to tell you a little bit about the history of MBSR. So MBSR was founded by Dr. John Kabat-Zinn at UMass Medical Center. And initially, this 8-week course was created for people who were dealing with chronic pain or chronic stress. It was really intended at the time to be a complement to their already existing medical treatment. But now it has been almost 40 years, and it has such a broad application. MBSR is used in education, it's used in the corporate world, in healthcare, mental health care systems, in prisons. So it really has such a broad application. There have been well over 30,000 people who have taken the course to date. And something I think is so wonderful about the course, one of the many things that I think is wonderful, especially coming from a psychology background, is the fact that it's evidence-based. So there have been thousands of studies which have shown the benefits and efficacy of the program. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Catherine, who will tell you a little bit more about mindfulness.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, so what is mindfulness, right? I'm sure some of you know, some of you have an idea, certainly have a sense of what it is, but we're going to talk about it from the perspective of using the formal definition, which was, by the way, developed by John Kabat-Zinn, and we use it at the Krame Center. So mindfulness is the awareness that arises from paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. So we're going to unpack that just a little bit, right? Because it's a very rich and full of information, this definition. So on purpose, that's the first part. Well, that suggests an intent, right? So we are intending to be mindful. We are being purposeful. And then next is in the present moment. Well, that of course is the focus on a particular time. It's what on the moment that's happening now, this unfolding moment-to-moment experience, right? So not ruminating about the past, which we do quite often. It's very easy to do, right? Replaying an event over and over that you either liked or you didn't like, or worrying about the future, right? Worrying about something that may or may not even happen. So it's about really cultivating this awareness of staying in the moment. And that is what's key. So there's a common denominator here, and that is awareness, right? You need awareness to be on purpose. You need awareness to be in the present moment. And you need awareness to, for the last piece, which is non-judgmentally, right? And that's an attitude. So it's about adopting a different attitude rather than this harsh judgment. How about curiosity? So that would be a much kinder alternative to what we're experiencing, right? Rather than labeling it with judgment. And so awareness is the common denominator in all three of the things required to be present, to be mindful. And so now I'm going to actually turn it over to Ken, who's going to go into a little bit more detail, share a little bit more.
Thank you again, Catherine. Yeah, so the slide here it's a way of giving, it's something I developed for professional trainings, but it's really very nice, I think, captures what Catherine was just talking about, the role of awareness and attention. So I think of it as an interactive slide. So if you could please give your full attention to the slide, you see what comes forward. And there's this image. And then you'll notice what the mind kind of does with this, with the stimulus, right? Thoughts and labels and desires, associations, likes, dislikes, all these things. And you could describe these as the activity of the mind, judgments perhaps that are being made. And you can see how they clutter, in a sense, our relationship with what's actually there. And so the practice of bare attention is really dropping all that stuff and just letting it, kind of wash away. And there we are once again in direct sensory contact with what's in front of us, right? And this could be what's inside of us or around us, you name it. And that practice, what we just watched with the rose, right, really helps shift our relationship to the activity of the mind. And what I mean by that is there we are, we're with the stimulus of the rose, and then the mind does its thing, it's a rose, I like it, don't like it, whatever. And we drop that and we come back to the direct experience with the rose. And that practice creates this shift in our relationship and a little bit of a gap, right, between what we're aware of and then what the mind is up to. And that gap is a game changer. And that's what gets cultivated with the practice. And in that gap, in that space, there's room for creativity to emerge, right? Because we're not just fixed. The heart emerges in that space. It's not cluttered by the mind. The heart can be a little more available. It can help us with our concentration, focus, also in terms of sleep and trying to let go of the activity of the day or what's going to happen tomorrow. So in various ways, this simple practice shows up in our lives in innumerable ways, really. And so that's what I wanted to just spend a moment or two to focus on, how that space that we create translates into these benefits that we discover with the practice. And I think I'm going to leave it there. Let Sarah's going to talk a little bit about what the course looks like. Yeah?
Okay, thank you, Ken. So throughout the MBSR course, we'll be learning both formal and informal practices. And one of the main formal practices that we'll be learning is an awareness of breath meditation. And we choose this to be a central focus, a central meditation, because we have the breath with us from the moment that we're born until the moment that we leave this earth. We can't leave home without the breath. So it really makes it a wonderful anchor to dropping back into the body and dropping back into the present moment. We'll also be learning other formal practices such as the body scan, walking meditation, mindful movement, and yoga. And the intention behind these formal practices is to really cultivate a connection between the mind and the body, right? Oftentimes our bodies are in one place, but maybe our minds are off someplace else. Maybe we're sitting driving in our car, but we're really off in the office, right? Our minds might be already at the office checking emails or thinking about the meeting that we'll be attending in the morning. We'll also be learning an awareness of thought meditation, awareness of emotions, and open awareness. And then we'll be learning informal practices, one of which is mindful eating. How often do we sit in front of our laptops during lunch eating a salad or a sandwich, not paying attention to our food, right? So we'll be learning how to focus on our food, the flavors, the textures, really savoring that experience. We'll also bring mindfulness to moments of transition. So whether it be walking to the car or to the lunchroom, setting an intention to pay attention to these moments of transition. In addition to this, we'll be incorporating mindfulness into our daily lives, into our daily activities. We'll be doing this by paying attention to washing dishes or walking the dog or brushing our teeth, right? As we brush our teeth, can we notice the sound of the water as it goes down the drain, the smell of the mint from the toothpaste, the sensations of the bristles against the teeth and gums? And so the intention is to cultivate awareness and to bring mindfulness into our daily lives. The intention is to take the mindfulness practice off of the cushion and bring it into our daily life. And so with that, I'd like to hand it back to Catherine, who will tell you a little bit more about the class.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah. Certainly we're going to be learning about stress and stress physiology, and we will be exploring our own habitual and automatic ways of reacting. And then we will explore more skillful responses to our reactive patterns through this increased awareness that we're going to be developing throughout the course. We will also look at patterns of communication, right? Because that's such an important part of our lives. We communicate with so many people so many times a day. And so we'll learn mindful listening and speaking skills, and we'll see how mindfulness can improve our interpersonal skills and also improve our relationships in general. So each class will include mindfulness practices, small and large group discussions, and also some talks and exercises that are related to the topics that we're going to learn about. And we also send you audio tracks of meditations and yoga exercises for practice at home. And you also receive a practice manual during the first class that you'll use throughout the course. And this is a highly experiential class. I like to say that it's exploratory more than explanatory. It's really an individual journey, and you can be the subject of your own experiment in the laboratory of an MBSR class, where you are safe, where you're supported, and we also learn from each other, right? But it's done in a very particular way, the way that we communicate with one another, and there's no advice giving or cross-talking or that kind of conversation. We really learn to listen to each other. And when we share from our own personal experience, right? And others can learn from that. So we really hope that you will consider taking this important first step in your own self-care by joining us on this 8-week journey to greater resilience and overall well-being. And just think about it. You know, this kind of self-care is really no different than going to the doctor or dentist for routine care, right? It is very important, taking care of ourselves emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. So I just wanted to say thank you all for attending today, and we really hope that you'll join us on this journey. All right, look forward to seeing you. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Take care. Bye-bye.